Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Transmissions from the Outpost. It's been quite a while. My name is Matthew. Joining me tonight in the Outpost is Jeff.
Hey, what's up?
Well, tonight we are actually going to talk about something very interesting for us personally. We're going to be talking about Pigface and Pigface 2. These are a couple slasher films that were made here in Nebraska on micro budgets. And when I talk micro budgets, hundreds of dollars, not even thousands of dollars. So these are very sort of micro budget local things here. And Jeff, you and I, we attended the world premiere of Pigface 2 at the Flatwater Film Festival. I see you're representing there with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
shirt.
absolutely.
This past Saturday. And, sort of full disclosure, Jeff and I do know people who worked on this. We're friends with director Joshua Wexman, for example. I did work on Pigface 2 in quite I wouldn't say a large capacity, but in a capacity. So we know many of these people who are involved in making this because they're fellow filmmaking friends with us here. And just as a plug, people who are listening to this, you can go check out the Once More for Safety show here on the Outpost Unknown YouTube channel. That was a show that Josh and I did for quite a while that talked about individual aspects of micro budget filmmaking. So if you are a filmmaker out there and you're interested in kind of learning, well, if I have no money, how do I make something like this, to get together with your friends? And how do I get a budget? And how do I cast people? And how do I find locations? You can go check out the playlist, which I'll link in the description and put at the end of this to find some of that stuff out. And the other plug I'll give is when we talk about Pigface 2, I did the behind the scenes of that for many, many weeks. And there are literally, I think it's like 4 or 5 hours of behind the scenes of the making of Pigface 2 right here on the Outpost Unknown channel. I'll link that also in the description. Basically, from weekend one to the end. You get to actually see the process of the movie we're going to be talking about tonight be made, which I think it would be kind of fun for people who are interested in that. So, Jeff, you're kind of coming in this as the outsider here. Like you didn't actually have
Yeah.
any role or any of this. Tell me sort of like your initial thoughts on just the idea of these kind of movies. I mean, you've participated in these local movies, you've acted in local movies like this. You have any thoughts on sort of like expectations you bring to seeing something like this?
My expectations are low, and that doesn't mean that I think everything's going to be crappy or bad, but I know what goes into making one of these and sort of what they typically come out as, and so I'm not expecting to go see Mission Impossible 7 with high flying special effects and a bunch of locations and all kinds of stuff like that. I'm expecting to see something. I'll use the word intimate, something sort of small in scope that's going to hopefully entertain, but not you know go too far outside the realm of frankly what it is. It's a micro budget affair.
Yeah, and I think the main thing that I look for in these movies is, does it have that charm to it?
Hmm.
Does it have that sort of like you understand when you're making a movie, a feature length movie for a few $100, there's going to be technical problems. There's going to be technical issues, but do the films sort of at least convey to the audience that these people had fun, and like I can sort of not really care too much about technical issues when I see that there's a lot of love and passion that came through here and they actually made a bona fide genuine attempt to do something.
It's really all about the actors that they manage to wrangle, because like if the actors are charismatic and you're having a good time with them, like a good actor can take a bad joke in a bad script and make it fun to watch. And on the other hand, a bad actor can take something that's a good script and make it no fun to watch. So if you manage to assemble a good cast, then you're halfway there for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I will say, just for the audience out there who are like, oh man, they're just gonna, puff up their friends here and tell us these movies are amazing. We will have genuine critiques of the film. What I think is important about critique, and this goes for myself as well. I mean, I'm a filmmaker. I got plenty of films. You can watch them here on the channel, and there's a lot of technical problems and screw ups, as I'm learning going through. Filmmakers, we always can learn from honest critiques. Like, oh, you did this. Well, let me try to do this better the next one. So I like it when people sort of point out that kind of stuff so I can improve as a filmmaker. And hopefully, Josh will take it on the chin a little bit here, but no, I'm just kidding. But let's go ahead and get into Pigface. The first Pigface, I have the IMDb up here,
Yeah.
came out in 2021. This was actually filmed, I believe. COVID has got me all screwed up in years wise, but I believe it was filmed in the fall of 2020 ish. So he actually filmed this, and just for context for people out there, because I know a little bit of backstory here, he filmed this with basically him and our friend Heather. and what other hands happened to be around on the days he needed to film it. He shot an entire feature film essentially by himself, running camera, running sound, and doing all that, which I will say it up front, that is fucking impressive. Regardless of what someone believes of the quality, how it ultimately came out, the fact that he went out there, he did his thing, he got these people together, and he made a feature. I could not do that. I would never be able to do something like that. So I want to give huge props just for the context of which this film was made. But do you remember kind of like the plot? I mean, you watched the first Pig Face. Do you remember the basic plot of the first Pig Face?
I think the basic plot, I mean, frankly, it's just like a cookie cutter thing. It's like a bunch of kids on their way to go party at the lake, isn't it? Right? I
It's
mean,
like a spring break, I think.
I saw it in the past, and I watched it literally the night before seeing Pigface 2, and I mean, this is how much of an impression the plot made on me. Uh, it's your typical slasher setup where it's kind of beside the point why they're there or what they're doing. They're just some people out in the woods, and they're hanging out, and they're gonna run afoul of something.
Yep, to get kind of like knocked off by Pigface, who is just a man with the face of a pig. There's nothing more to it that we, at least that we know in these two movies. Maybe in a potential third down the road, we'll find out more. But go ahead, tell me what you liked about the first Pigface.
What I liked about the first pig face is I thought it looked legitimate. You can go on to, for example, Tubi is a site I love where you can just dial up a whole page full of different slasher movies, movies of, of this type, and you can click on one, and it's very likely to look horrible, like just whatever camera they chose to use, however they chose to light it, whatever effects they applied to it afterwards. They'll very often look and sound terrible. Pigface One, not for nothing, it looks and sounds, to me, in my opinion, it looks good. It looks like it belongs on a movie screen. And that's very
Yeah,
hard, from what I understand of the micro budget things that I've been around in the past. That's very hard to pull off, or it's not a given anyway. Maybe gear and software has gotten better so that it's a little easier to get there. But kudos to them for making it look like a real movie, because that doesn't always happen.
yeah, I 100% agree with you. I will say that there are your typical sort of audio problems.
Mm.
Most notably in that initial opening scene where the audio is peaking, where everyone's screaming and yelling, and you hear that sort of crackle, and it's like, ugh.
Julia!
Maybe I've tried to ADR some screams in post or something there. But generally speaking, yeah, I think it looks great. And I know Josh is watching this with a very keen eye. And Josh, I looked at this, and this is an actual honest thing. I have a whole bunch of notes here. I went through. What I really loved about this film is the framing of the shots. And some people might think like, oh, well, what does that have to really do with anything? It has everything to do with making a movie look legitimate and good, and sort of whether he realizes it or not, he actually has a pretty keen eye for sort of utilization of space within the frame. So, for example, I'll throw a few examples up as I discuss, because they gave me some permission to throw a few clips here and there. There are some shots where there's multiple characters, so he's dealing with like 4 or 5 characters all standing around each other at one time, but he places them within the frame, so it's not like there's someone halfway off or you can't see somebody or anything. Everybody's right there. You get as an audience viewer, you kind of know spatial relation where everyone's at. There's another sequence where it's just 2 characters, camera's just sort of medium shot straight on, but then he uses depth. He's got a character in the background, so it's like that middle part of the frame, there's something there. It's not just empty grass, for example. And I don't know if he intentionally was like, hey, I'm going to set up the stuff, but the fact that he was able to do it, I noticed it, and I thought that was a really really cool thing that he did here. In terms of other things that I personally liked, I thought Jenna Briggs was real good as Mandy. There's a scene at the end of this film where they're like in the cabin, and she's interacting with the main guy, and he's like, I gotta go, whatever, and she actually has this moment where she's really legitimately scared, and she's like, I'm really fucking terrified.
I need you to believe me. Okay? Do you believe me?
I do. I'm, I'm, I'm just really fucking scared.
I know.
And she really pulled it off. I was like, that was good acting for a sort of micro budget thing. It really made me feel like, wow, she was actually doing something. She was putting her all into this performance to try to really make it work. So I like that quite a bit. I like that they were able to sort of make a slasher film primarily during the day. Now I know this is mostly for
Mhm.
technical reasons. They couldn't, didn't have a bunch of lights. They couldn't film at night for this first movie. I did think it was kind of unique
Yeah.
that you have a slasher film in broad daylight. I mean, what did you think of that? Was that something that you noticed at all?
Yeah, I like it. You want to be able to see what's going on, and like you're out in the middle of the woods. Why would the guy only come out at night? I mean, he's got you dead to rights. There's no cops around. I mean, why not? Might as well. It's 3 p.m. I'll come get you.
Yeah. It was just a unique flair to it,
Mm.
born out of necessity by the filmmakers, but I still enjoyed that. To sort of echo what you said about sort of like the professionalism of it, this also goes for Pigface 2. I know Patrick Lambrecht edited the first Pigface, and then he co-directed and edited the second Pigface, Pigface 2. Patrick is awesome. He's a director in his own right. He's an actor in his own right. He's made his own movies and things of that nature. And I have a lot of respect for him because he knows how to put shots together and make it look, like you said, like a legitimate movie. So big props to that. The film grain. It's a benefit in this movie, in my opinion, but it's a hindrance in Pigface 2, and we'll get to that. But I actually thought with the daylight sort of sequence, the film
Mhm.
grain looked a little better to me. It was less sort of overt in your face, like distracting.
And we're
I don't know.
talking about like you're in the editing software and you apply a
Yeah.
you press some button, apply a magic wand that puts
Yep.
this over your film. Okay,
Puts
yeah,
like 1970s grindhouse sort of
yeah.
stuff. You got like the vertical lines and the film grain and the cigarette burns that pop up in the corner and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on the actual look of film grain stuff?
I like it in certain things, but if you're using it as sort of a kludge to be like, this is gonna, and I was just a moment ago praising how I thought it looked, so maybe it works. If you're just kind of saying like, I want my movie to be horror genre-y, here's a button I click, and that might be a little too cute by half. It could be overused.
Okay, yep, that's fair. The last thing I'll say, sort of like the positive aspects of the first pig face here, and I know I've told this to Josh before, and I don't think he actually believes me, but I'll tell it now publicly for everybody. When I initially, because we had a conversation, him and I, before he made this movie, and he was sort of getting my thoughts on whether he should make it and considering the times and everything like that. And when he decided to do it all by himself, my thought was, wow, how is this going to work? Like, I don't know if he's going to be able to pull this off. And when I actually watched it the first time was a couple years back, whatever, I was genuinely impressed. Like,
Mhm.
I actually think he pulled off a decent slasher film considering all the circumstances that were going on. And I am absolutely truthful and honest in that, Josh. I think he did a really great job on this first pig face. But we'll transition into some critiques. Are there any particular critiques that you have of the first pig face? Things that you thought could be done better or just didn't like?
Yeah, I mean, the story, such as it is, and granted, Friday the 13th, these other movies don't have so much better, such a better
Right,
story than
right.
Pigface. But basically, the story is, uh, hey, where's Sally? I don't know. Let's go find her. And so some people walk off and they look for someone, and then 5 minutes later, they're like, hey, where's Joe? I don't know. Let's go find him. The whole entire movie is just kind of people like wondering where their friends are and walking back and forth. There's
Yeah.
not a whole lot of else going on. So yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely echo that. I think the biggest problem I have with the first pig face is the number one, I think the general story, it is what it is.
Mhm.
It's like I
Yeah,
said, it is what it is.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
the biggest problem I have with the first pig face is the dialogue.
And who lived here before you? The Adams family?
You're an idiot.
You're an idiot.
I think the dialogue is pretty bad at times, and
It
I'll
was
give you
better a lot.
two was much better. Yeah, I'll give you an example. There is this thing that happens in Pigface, and Josh, I'm going to do a supercut. So this is going to be added into this review here in just a second. How many times, like, take a drink, take a shot every time a character says another character's name at the end of the sentence that they say? Like, how many times does someone say the word danger? Danger, stop that, danger. Where are you, danger? Let's go, danger. Oh, danger, stop. Danger, 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 danger.
We're almost there, Danger.
Enough danger.
Danger's my middle name.
You were so much cooler when we called you Danger.
Shut up, Danger. Take a deep breath. Forget about Danger.
Yeah, just forget all about me.
Shut the fuck up, Danger. Oh, fuck off, Danger.
You mind watching Nick and Danger?
What's wrong with you?
Danger's being an asshole.
Get a hold of yourself, Danger.
Danger! Oh, and Danger.
Danger! Danger!
Danger, what is going on? Danger, what happened? Ignore him, Danger. Danger, are you sure he didn't just pass out or something? Danger! God damn it, Danger. Why would you even say that? Really, Danger? I thought Danger was your middle name.
Shut up, Danger.
I feel like we should go after her.
Danger. No, we can't do that.
Danger, what are you doing? Shut the fuck up, Danger! You don't got this!
Human beings, when they're together and they're friends, after every single sentence I say, I don't say your name. Hey, let's go do this, Jeff. Oh, that was thank you, Jeff. Jeff. It just doesn't happen that way, and it just drove me crazy as I'm watching it, and that's all the characters. The other thing I will say here is the characters in the film, I think, are generally fine, except for the character of Danger. That character I felt was obnoxious. He's supposed to be kind of like the obnoxious asshole sort of type of character, and I get it. And the actor succeeded in portraying that. My problem with it is that he's also supposed to be like comedic relief, and the jokes are not funny.
I've been calling out. You didn't hear me? Well, did you leave a message?
And this character is one of those characters where it's like, I don't want this person on the screen anymore. I don't want people saying his name. I don't want people. I don't want to see him. I want him to die. I want him to be done and over with. And the link to the movie will be in the description. But the end of this movie does not fulfill me in any way. I'm kind of like, God damn it, son of a bitch. And oh, by the way, this gives me PTSD of a movie I made back in 2012 to this day. So God damn you, Josh. But yeah, I did not like that character at all. At all. I don't know. Do you remember that character at all? I mean,
I think I'm trying to be as kind as I possibly can, right? I think the movie starts from the premise that Danger is cool and sort of insists that you agree rather than just presenting the character and letting the audience find their favorite or choose the character that they think is cool. I think the movie is trying to push a little too hard at you saying, hey, this guy's really cool and funny. You should be on his side.
And the characters in the van early on kind of make fun of him a little bit, but I'm just like, in PIGFACE 2, which there aren't any characters that are obnoxious and annoying, right?
No.
Where you're just like, you were like, get them off the screen, please. And this is nothing against the actor who played Danger. I mean, that is what they were going for, a very obnoxious.
No, it's Josh's fault for writing it that way.
It's absolutely Josh's fault for directing it that way too. But man, that character was just really did not like that character at all. So overall, your thoughts on the first PIGFACE? Like, if you had to give it a letter rating, what would you give the first PIGFACE, considering what it is, a micro budget movie?
It's like a C+. It's perfectly fine for what it is. Like, you pop that on and have some laughs, especially if you like the place, the location. It looks like places that I know in real life, so I can just picture it. It's really relatable to me in that way. So especially if you can put yourself in these places, physically understand like where those places are and what they're like and stuff. It's great. It's like, yeah, okay, cool.
For sure. And I'd probably give it a C-. I think that there are some technical problems that kind of hinder it. I think some of the lack of gore in the first one. I mean, there's a scene where Sawyer gets killed, where he gets like punched through the stomach and the intestines come out, but most of the blood and guts are kind of off camera a little bit, so you don't get to see a lot of that. But what it has in its benefit, it's only 60 minutes long. So that's kind of like the perfect runtime for something like this, I think. And so
That's
I think
great.
that
I think it's really to a film's credit when it's shorter rather than longer. If it doesn't need to be longer, like, just go ahead and make your movie 60 minutes, 70 minutes. There's no law that says you got to be 90. Maybe there are, if you're trying to get placed in some sort of category on some sort of service or something. They want things to be a certain length. But in my opinion, make your movie 60 minutes long, make it 75 minutes long.
For sure. So, yeah, that's PIGFACE. Now, we talk about Pigface 2. This has not been released yet. I know that they are going to do another screening of it, and it will probably end up on their YouTube channel at some point in time. But Pigface 2, Pigface is back to sort of terrorize a group of troubled teens heading to Camp
Which
Smoky
is a
Oak.
mystery, by the way, because at the end of Pigface 1, I mean, he gets
Yes.
pretty definitively chopped up. So we're thinking that
Yeah.
Pigface is, where did he come back?
Yeah.
We're already wondering.
Because there's not a lot of story in the first one as how this all happened. So, like, well, will they explain it at all in the second one? And I will also point out, if anyone watching this wants to watch the first Big Face, there is a stinger. So stick to
Oh,
after
maybe
the
did I watch it?
credits. I
I
don't
don't
know
know
if you
if I
saw the
watched that.
stinger, but there is a
Oh.
stinger there. So Pigface 2, just sort of context here, it was our friend Josh and Heather's world premiere. We went to Seward, Nebraska to their film festival, the Flatwater Film Festival. And what was the vibe there? Were you excited to see this? Like, what was your mindset when you got to the film festival?
Yeah, I've been to things like this before, but I haven't been to this specific one or this specific theater. I've driven past this theater, the Rivoli Theater in Seward, a million times, but I've never gone in. I didn't know what to expect, but when I went in, the place was there were a ton of people there.
Yeah.
Everyone, I kind of snuck into a screening in progress, and everyone was having a good time and clapping at the films. I mean, I was pretty impressed by the attendance, just the number of people in the theater when I showed up. Because I don't know what to expect. I could see this like, I think back to my days when I would go see my friend's crummy garage band playing a show, and you'd walk in and there's 7 people there, and it's their mom and 2 of their friends. But this wasn't like that. There was a lot of folks there.
Yeah, for sure. And I know Josh and Heather are big parts of putting on that film festival. They're
Hmm.
like on the board of directors or whatever, and they've done a fantastic. That was the first time I'd ever been there, also, and so I was very, very impressed with sort of like the professionalism and how they sort of all put that on. So we got there probably, I don't know, 20 minutes before Pigface 2 started. So you got your popcorn and your soda, right? We sit down. What is Pigface 2 about, in your opinion? Can you give a quick synopsis of this? Is it any different than the first?
It's the exact same movie as the first one. Uh, the premise is there's a van full of like a half dozen girls, and they're on their way to a camp for troubled youth where they're
Yeah.
going to work. Some of them are placed there because they themselves had a troubled past, and then they're doing some community service or this or that. And one of them is just a volunteer. She's sort of like optimistic about being able to make a difference for people and wanting to try something new. But they're on their way to this camp, and their van gets a flat tire.
Oh,
And then from
hate
there
it when
it's
that
it's
happens.
from there it's the exact same thing as Pig Phase 1. They're lost. Hey, let's go see if we can find so and so
In
ad
the exact
infinitum.
same location, the same farm and everything
Right.
as
So
the very first one.
they've run across the same farm from Pig Face 1. That just happens to coincidentally be where they break down, and so they go out and look for a phone, and they end up there.
Okay. What did you like about this film?
I thought the cast was great. I thought they were very funny when they were supposed to be. Like if you can pull off being funny in a movie like this, then that does a lot. And these actors were pretty funny when they were supposed to be. I didn't dislike any of them. I was happy to spend time with them, kind of because it's kind of a hangout movie. When your movie is just walking around looking for each other over and over, it becomes kind of a hangout movie, and it worked
Yeah.
in that regard because the characters were fun. I enjoyed them.
Yeah, I echo that. My thoughts on this, and again, Josh knows, and Patrick knows. I'm sure he'll watch this. I'm always truthful, and I'm very blunt with my with my assessment. Sometimes they leveled up, in my mind, everything from
Mhm.
Pigface on this. If the goal of Josh and Patrick were, hey, we made Pigface, similar to I made the Grand Horror, and then we made Outpost Doom, a couple years later. I'm like, my goal was just on a technical level to make it better than what I did before. I think they succeeded in spades in this. I think Heather's makeup effects were great. I mean, it opens with sort of like a chainsaw to the ass. There's a whole lot. I mean, arms are ripped off in this. You got people getting, arrows shot through their head and eyeballs sticking on them. Fantastic. And yeah, I think you're right. What set this one apart from the first Pig Face to me was the cast. I think that the cast is genuinely funny. Like Katie Otten is hilarious. There's a funny joke about crotch rot that Nicole Vosser does early on in the van that got a big laugh. And yes, the difference between this and the first Pig Face is I'm not with any characters that I absolutely hate and cannot stand, right? So, you have a danger character in the first one. I'm like, God, this is cringy. It's so cringy. Just die already. Here, I don't want any of them to die. It's fun.
Yeah.
I agree with your assessment of just sort of like when it's just people walking around on a farm essentially. That's all this is, and you've got to be able to enjoy the characters. If you find them annoying, you're not going to have a good time. So I think that Josh and Greg Gale, who co-wrote the script, did a really good job of making characters likable. Cinematography I thought was really good. I thought that was a step up from the first one. A Chance Guida, I was on set for a lot of that. He did a really great job, sort of really lighting it well. This was shot primarily at night, we should say, whereas the
Oh.
first one was during the day. This one was shot primarily at night. The opening is during the day, and then of course the van breaks down. They show up at the thing, and I thought that that lent itself to this kind of film better than the first. When I think of a slasher film, I want it at night. People in the dark running around, and you can hide mistakes a little bit better, I think, in the dark. Anything else that stood out to you in terms of likes?
Yeah, I think the kills were good, and like when you see a eyeball sticking out on a pike from someone's face, it looked pretty cool. It was like,
Yeah,
yeah, here's this is what I'm here for.
yeah. Didn't like. So what did you not like about Pigface 2?
So Pigface only sort of has one move. It's like when we're going to have a kill scene, all that happens is Pigface just is standing behind a person, and they turn around and see him, and
Yeah.
we move on with the kill. So I don't get a lot of Pigface action. I don't get the character of Pigface stalking or doing anything clever or outsmarting anyone. He just kind of shows up,
Like
and
a
that's a
force of
little bit like,
nature is just
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I have a few dislikes on this. The number one dislike I had, and I think I told you about this in the car ride back, was the film grain component on here.
Hmm.
So since this primarily takes place at night, the film grain is much more noticeable on this.
Okay.
That's okay. The little sort of like, the grain itself and the
Mhm.
the cigarette burns, that's fine. There were numerous points in this where there's this long vertical line that goes down and it moves back and forth across a portion of the frame, and in many instances that is literally in front of actors faces while they're delivering dialogue.
Mhm.
And because it's not a natural thing, because this is just a filter that is created and put on the film, it looks unnatural. It looks too bright, too out of place. And when I'm want to focus on what the dialogue, I'm seeing a line moving in front of someone's face, and it really bothered me. I don't know if it bothered you, but to me, that just really bothered me. So I don't know. What did you think
And
of the film grain? Did you have any issues with the film grain?
I didn't have any issues with it other than, like, albeit understanding very clearly that it's not real, right? This was
Yeah,
shot digitally. I know that this is something that they chose to do because they thought that would give them an aesthetic that they wanted. And so there's
yeah,
a phoniness to it, which is not like I'm not trying to say like in that really negative way, but yeah, I mean it's a little bit false, right? And
yeah.
I think you mentioned that their source material, they have like some great 4K footage of this. So maybe
Oh yeah,
there's like
I was on
some
set.
some
It looks awesome.
someday we'll see some like not film grain filtered grindhouse filtered 4K edition of Pigface, and maybe it'll knock my socks off. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the film grain itself. It's just those specific moments when it's
Hmm.
very distracting in dialogue sequences. So if there was any recommendation I could throw out there, and they don't need to listen to me, I would find those moments and kind of move that. Just move that around a little bit so that it's not so distracting on some of the actors. Um, Other thing that I thought didn't quite work with this, the first film's 60 minutes. This is bumped up to 80, so we got an additional 20 minutes on this, and I don't think the story warranted an additional 20 minutes. So the first film, like, my thing was, that felt like a kind of perfect time,
Hmm.
amount of time for it. This one I feel might overstay its welcome just a bit because there's so much talking. There is so much talking in this movie, and when you're the death scenes look great, but they're quick, right? So there's no sort of like build up or real suspense to a lot of it. It's you'll get your musical cue, dun dun dun. Someone will walk for 5 seconds, and then boom, the arrow comes out and kills the person, right? So I feel like it just ran a little long. What did you feel like the length of time? Did you feel that or not?
I didn't feel it too much, but I definitely, as I'm watching the movie, I understand I get the deal. I just watched Pigface 1, and now I'm watching Pigface 2, and I get what it is. It's these people walking around not really doing much. And so whether it's 80 minutes or 60 minutes, yeah, it's just a lot of, I don't want to
Yeah.
say filler, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's plenty of slashers, there's plenty of Friday the 13th
Oh yeah,
slashers
I'll
that
go
just
pull up my
filled
favorite
with
slasher, and it's the
it's
same thing.
and then I must mention this because I know this is one of the first things that Josh asked me after the screening was over. I did have a hand in sort of working a specific scene in Pigface 2, and that is the character of Fiona's death sequence. She was a girl with pigtails, played by Nicole Wasser. I don't want to spoil what the kill is or how she ends up dying. A spoiler, she dies. But there's a. I told Josh, I was like, "Don't fuck this up, Josh. Do not fuck up this scene. Just don't fuck it up because that's the one scene I'm most looking forward to." Um, A wasn't what I wanted. So in my mind, it didn't play out exactly what I wanted. But on the bright side, I thought it was still pretty good. So even though it didn't, in my mind, my creative sort of filmmaker mind, I was like, I wouldn't have done those shots. I wouldn't have set this thing up. I would have done a little bit more here and there. Josh, I still like the scene, so I'm not gonna lose any sleep over the fact. I think he did a fine job trying to realize my vision for that sequence. And the only other thing that that pisses me off, Josh, my name is Matthew. Why did you credit me as Matt in the end credits? God damn it! I feel so disrespected, so disrespected from you. God. But so overall, that's kind of our thoughts on Pigface 2. What is your rating if you had to give it a letter grade for Pigface 2?
Well, if I think this was clearly better than the first one, and I gave the first one a C plus, then I guess I'm obligated to give this a B for consistency's sake. So I'll give it a B. I think it improved over the first one in almost every way, and yeah,
For
more
sure.
entertaining. I don't and again, I don't think you need to have seen Pigface 1 in order to watch Pigface 2.
No. No, I don't think so
Oh,
because they don't. I mean, it doesn't really explain any more lore or what's actually going on here. It's just, you know, uh, people at the same location getting picked off by a man with the face of a pig.
mhm,
To piggyback off you, I gave the first pig a C minus. I'm actually going to give this one a B as well. I
okay,
really enjoyed myself. And perhaps there's a little bit of inherent bias here because I was
sure.
on set and I was helping and whatnot. But I just feel in my heart of hearts, completely 100%, truth and honesty here. Josh and Patrick did a fucking great job, and so did Heather, and so did the whole cast and crew. They really, that's what I like to see in these kind of things. I like to see people sort of leveling up their work.
Mhm.
If this had been just, the same on a technical level as the original Pigface and the same sort of thing, I would have been like, I'm a little disappointed here. But they did a fantastic job, and I recommend people check this stuff out. We started this sort of review saying, what do we look for when it comes to these micro budget movies? You can't compare them to a Hollywood movie or a Hollywood slasher film or something like that. You can't. We don't have the resources, we don't have the time or anything like that. I'm looking for the love and the passion and the charm and
Mhm.
the fun and the entertainment value. And I feel like Josh and Patrick pulled it off with this movie. They absolutely did. And clearly the audience thought that as well, because the
Oh
audience
yeah,
was
they were hooting and hollering and
hooting
getting
and
pops
hollering.
and all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you guys did a really good job. I really appreciate it. Heather, fantastic effects once again. And if there is a Pig Face 3, I look forward to seeing what they could do with it in the future. So that's it. Do you have any other final comments about the Pig Face movies?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mention it, but I think the score or the music choice in Pigface 2 was really
Oh
good.
yeah,
I don't know if they had original pieces.
I
I tried
think
to pay
so.
attention to the credits, but
Let me look. Let me look.
the choice of music, I mean, it seemed really legit in the movie. And then also like certain aspects of like the end credits sequence was really neat and really
Oh,
cool. And I don't
yeah.
know who made that, if Josh made that, like whoever made that really
I'm
knows
sure
their
it was
way
Patrick.
around,
Yeah, I'm sure it was
really
Patrick.
knows their way around the editing software and stuff, because it
Yeah.
looked really cool. It looked like something out of a real Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
The end credit sequence is
And
cool.
I love when they do like video end credits in movies where
Mhm.
they
Yeah.
show the actor and give them their due, like this was this
Yeah.
person and whatnot. So uh, there was a stinger at the end of this one too, right?
Yes. Yeah. The lights
Yes.
came up and everyone, Josh was like, turn the lights back off.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. 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 So
Pigface finds one of the Infinity Stones and
don't spoil it,
okay, sorry, yeah.
snapping everybody out of existence. But yeah, so that's it. That's our review of
Mhm.
Pigface and Pigface 2. Check the link below for a link to the Midnight Frights YouTube channel that has the first Pigface film there. I'll let everybody know when they eventually put up Pigface 2. And then be sure to check our playlist of the making of Pigface 2. There's plenty of stuff there, and you can watch me be terrified of ticks every single weekend while we're out on this farm. There's a lot of great stories and stuff there. So thanks everybody, and good job, Josh. Well played. Change my name to Matthew.